Welcome back, and thank you for watching Toledo's longest-running 9 a.m. show, Good Day. Well, if you love Tuesdays with Maury, cried at the end of the 5 people you meet in heaven, and wondered about that stranger in the lifeboat, you'll want to grab the next offering from our next guest and maybe even meet him here in Toledo. Author, media personality, and more, Mitch Albom is with us this morning. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Amanda.
You know, I read Stranger in the Lifeboat, and it was so good and uplifting. And this is your latest book called The Little Liar. It seems a little bit different than maybe some of the other books that you have done in the past. It's set during the Holocaust, correct?
It is, and it starts perhaps a little differently, but I still think by the end it's an uplifting and hopeful story. It follows an 11-year-old boy named Nico who lives in a town in Greece who's never told a lie before in his life. And when the Nazis invade the town, they find this out and they kidnap him away from his family and use him. They say, just stand on the train platform and tell everybody that these trains are taking them to new jobs and new homes, and then you can go back to your family. Being a trusting kid, he does this until the last train he sees his own family being shoved into it, and he realizes that they're being sent to concentration camps and that he's been tricked into lying. And it follows what happens to him over the next 40 years as a result of that lie and the redemption that he seeks to try to be forgiven for it. But it is hopeful because his family and the little girl who loved him when she was young seeks him out over the course of her entire life until she can find him again to tell him it wasn't his fault. So it's a story about hope in the most perhaps hopeless kind of situation, which I think is inspiring.
Just beautiful. What inspired you to write this story?
You know, Amanda, when I grew up, there were an older Jewish couple that lived right next door to us, and they always wore these long sleeves. And I asked my mother once when I was a kid, why do they do that? It's summertime, it's hot. And they said, well, they have these numbers on their arm that they don't want you to see. And I said, why not? And they said, you'll find out when you're older. Well, I'm older and I found out why, but those people now aren't with us anymore. Most of them are gone. And when there's no one left to tell the story of what happened during that time when lies dominated and fooled people into doing terrible things, then we run the risk of doing it again. And so I thought that it was important to tell a hopeful story, but one that was also cautionary about truth and lies.
Yeah, you know, history repeats itself, right? But it is so important to keep that in the forefront of that history that happened and that was real and that happened. So beautiful that you are using your experience from your childhood to write this story and also bring, you know, a little bit of hope into your words as well. Now, there's an opportunity. You're going to be in Toledo next month, not too far from your stomping grounds, right?
Right, Detroit, right down the road, December 12th. And I have a chance to talk to everybody there, meet them, give a talk about the book, and get books signed, especially if they want them for the holidays or things like that.
Yeah, good timing for that. Coming up on December 12th at Main Library in downtown Toledo. Tell me why you do these types of events with the community, with the public.
Because ever since Tuesdays with Maury, you know, people have sought me out and asking me some of the things that I learned from that time. And I try to, almost all my books, I have some lesson you can trace back to Tuesdays with Maury. And in The Little Liar, one of them is about forgiveness. I remember Maury told me before he died, you have to forgive everybody, everything, and forgive yourself for the things that happened to you. And in this book, little Nico seeks to be forgiven for everything that he thinks that he did. And in the end, you know, finds out that that's going to be his redemption. And people tend to come up to me and say, you know, well, that book really spoke to me, or that, you know, that really showed me a lesson. Stranger in the Lifeboat had some ramifications for me. And as a, you know, author, it's a lonely job most of the time. You sit by a computer, so to get out and meet people is kind of a joy. And so I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in Toledo, which is kind of Detroit-ish anyhow, so it's sort of like home. We're all rooting for the Lions, aren't we?
Yes, yeah, they played really well yesterday, right? You know, so this is an opportunity to come out and meet with you and learn a little bit more about the book as well. Tuesdays with Maury, as you mentioned, 25th anniversary for this, is that correct?
It's already 27 now.
27 now.
It's crazy.
So, right, you know, when you think back on the time, but even still, these books are still, you know, people are reading them and still feeling that impact. How does that make you feel as an author?
Great. You know, I wrote Tuesdays with Maury to pay Maury's medical bills, so it wasn't supposed to become a big book, but it certainly did and changed my life. And You know, Maury taught me a lot of things, including that we have to love each other or perish. And I look at the time that we're in right now, and I see that we're not spending a lot of time loving each other. There's a lot more hate going around and a lot of lies. And that's why I thought this book was particularly pertinent for today's world, you know, that we start picking our truths and picking what we choose to listen to and saying, well, no, my news network says this, so that's what the thing is, or mine says this. You know, the truth is a precious thing. And the Nazis weren't able to do what they did because they had bigger guns. They were able to do what they did because they had bigger lies. And people fell for them. And so it's a very cautionary time. And hopefully this book, in addition to inspiring people, also serves as a bit of a warning, you know, what happens when we don't value the truth.
Wow, yeah, you couldn't have said it any better. So go ahead and jot down this date, December 12th, 7 o'clock at the main library, downtown Toledo. You can get your tickets online for this. You want to come out and get yourself a copy and maybe get it signed too. And as you said, great holiday gift as well. Mitch, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, Amanda.
Yep.
Hi, Toledo.